Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Welcome to this webinar today. We will start in 1 minute. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we can wait 1 more minute and then we start. So good afternoon, everyone. Actually, good morning or good evening for all of you located in a different part of the world. It's a great pleasure to welcome you today to our webinar, Empowering Quality Infrastructure Through Digital Transformation. My name is Luana Ladu, and I work for the German Federal Institute for Material Research and Testing. Together with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, we are excited to welcome you today to this webinar. This event brings over 200 participants across the globe, and this highlights the growing importance of digital transformation in shaping and enhancing quality infrastructure. So before we will dive into the program, I would like to provide you with a few housekeeping information. First of all, this webinar is being recorded to give the possibility to more participants to follow us. And also, I would like to ask you to please use the chat for writing all your questions, and we will do our best to answer all of them either today during the workshop or also later via email. Now let's have a look at the agenda that we created for you. As you can see, we have organized three important sessions. Session 1 will provide an overview of the global status and trends in the digital transformation of quality infrastructure, emphasizing the crucial role in advancing sustainable development. In addition, in this session, we will also highlight the findings of an international study on digital transformation and conformity assessment across 15 countries. And I'm sure that many of you that took this survey are here today. And our second session highlights national and international best practices from different countries, including from Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America. And they focus on different aspects of digital transformation of quality infrastructure, including testing, inspection, and certification, standardization, and accreditation. And this is also followed by a very nice panel discussion titled Unlocking the Opportunities Through Digital Transformation in Quality Infrastructure, where we have many experts from around the globe in the field. Now, let me introduce you our first session and speakers. So we start with Ms. Dorina Natti from UNIDO. Dorina, she's a development officer with over 11 years of experience in fostering sustainable trade and quality management worldwide. She will set the stage with her presentation on smart quality infrastructure for sustainable future. Dorina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Allow me to share my screen, and I will make an attempt to set the scene for this very comprehensive and wide-ranging topic. I see many participants online. I hope you can hear me well and see the screen. Okay. I will set the scene from a perspective of UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, focusing on smart quality infrastructure for a sustainable future. We know that quality infrastructure can have a relevance to many dimensions of sustainable development. In times of change, where the world is facing climate change, digital transformation, the energy transition, and global trade disruptions, quality infrastructure can serve as a tool to support not only market access and trade, where it's originally anchored in, but also sustainable development at large, climate action, EU integration or regional integration in general. International cooperation can also support economic growth and attract investment. Digital transformation has changed quality infrastructure, and it has opened up new opportunities for people prosperity, the planet, and protection. It improves access to services, enhances transparency and trust, empowerment and participation, and transparency and due diligence, a requirement that markets are asking more and more. Digitalization can contribute to quality infrastructure being more conducive for economic growth and innovation, increased efficiency and productivity, global competitiveness and trade. But also through digital technologies, quality infrastructure can make a better contribution to environmental sustainability, efficient use of resources, and the green transformation. And last but not least, one of the key objectives of quality infrastructure is consumer protection, and this can be expanded to also encompass environmental protection and safety and security of the society at large. But digitalization is unevenly distributed. So if we want a quality infrastructure to unfold its full potential using digitalization, then we have to make sure that the digitalization is accessible and used everywhere without a digital gap. The perspective on quality infrastructure that we as UNIDO take is a very holistic one, a holistic approach to quality infrastructure aligned with the definition of the International Network on Quality Infrastructure that looks at the system and all its actors as they're displayed on the screen, starting from governance, the key quality infrastructure institutions, the service providers, the enterprises, the main users of the services, and the beneficiaries, consumers, and citizens at large. Acknowledging the positive contribution that quality infrastructure can have for sustainable development, UNIDO, together with the INET-QI, has developed an index to measure the contribution of quality infrastructure for sustainable development. The new edition of this index was just launched a couple of weeks ago, and I invite everybody to have a look and browse through the data, which can be used as a powerful tool to make the point and to promote the positive contribution that quality infrastructure can make. But as said, quality infrastructure has changed, and there are two sides to the coin. On the one side, digital transformation has changed quality infrastructure and has an impact on how quality is executed, measured, and also how compliance is captured. But on the other side, quality infrastructure can play a proactive role in shaping the digital transformation, particularly through standards and its other dimensions. Based on this rationale, UNIDO a couple of years ago has started to put a particular focus on how to strengthen the digital transformation of quality infrastructure institutions, starting with the dimension of standardization, looking at the different aspects that need to be considered in order to transform the way that things are done in quality infrastructure, not simply digitalizing the procedures that are there. So when we look at digital transformation, this involves fundamental change to business operations in view of delivering more value to customers, but also the national objectives. And this brings me to my next slide. With this methodology, looking at the different aspects of quality infrastructure services and quality infrastructure institutions, we can use technology to enhance the contribution of quality infrastructure for national objectives, meet societal demand, safety and security, with a strong focus on standards development, adoption, and sales, but also ensure interoperability and stakeholder engagement. At the same time, digitalization is key for global integration, for alignment with international organizations, some of which are here today, ISO, IAF, and others, but also for regional integration with regional bodies such as SENS and ELECT. All of this is essential for trade and for a global economy to function well. It's not only nice to have, it's a must. And we see this also now more and more coming from the markets and the market requirements that are demanding proof on sustainability. The EU Green Deal calls for more sustainability and due diligence. So the choice of conformity assessment procedures needs to be rethought, considering the new technologies that are available, making best use of them to meet the demands of the market, but ultimately to do better what we want to do, keeping in mind broader objectives. Again, new technologies in conformity assessment open up new opportunities in QI in general, but we have to make sure that they can be used and that they do not result in barriers through a digital divide. There are already very good examples of how these new technologies are being used and utilized, and I will not go into the examples because we have very good cases in the presentations to follow. I'm just aiming to set the theme. And a very important actor that needs to be considered is the private sector. Ultimately, quality infrastructure needs to be demand-driven in line with what the industry and the private producers are aiming to achieve with the quality infrastructure services, one of which, of course, is transparency and traceability in line with overall market needs. Quality management systems can act as a driver here to stimulate enterprises to adopt more modern approaches and also be innovative and find new technologies and new solutions to sometimes existing challenges. UNIDO has quite a track record aiming to support digitalization in quality infrastructure. This is an initiative that was started many years ago, based very much on the demand that we have seen in the countries and the need for the quality infrastructure institutions to digitalize in order to meet national objectives and integrate globally. Some of the countries that were supported specifically in the digitalization of their standardization bodies or standardization processes, but also quality infrastructure broader are mentioned here. We will hear from Tanzania in a bit, and I also want to mention a new initiative a regional initiative started in 2024, which aims at digitalizing accreditation and conformity assessment in West Africa. This specifically focuses on using digital tools to improve compliance with food safety and standards, and is a joint effort by the STDF, PTP, UNIDO, but most importantly, the regional and the national partners, UMY, COAS, and SOAC. This is only one of many initiatives that is ongoing, but because of its regional relevance and its transformative nature, I wanted to mention it here. So with all of that we heard, we already can imagine the complexity that we will have to meet in the future. The future quality infrastructure needs to be digital, it needs to be innovative, it needs to be demand-driven, integrated and interconnected, robust, most of all, agile, but at the same time agile and responsive. It needs to be engaging and proactively shaping the future. This is already a lot to ask for. So what we are here to discuss today is how this has been achieved in one or the other aspect and what we can do in the future to further promote this very ambitious objectives set for quality infrastructures worldwide. Concluding, quality infrastructure needs to catch up with the speed of digital transformation because the speed that we see is unprecedented. But ultimately, digitalization is not the end, it's a means to an end, and so is quality infrastructure. So if these two elements are used reinforcing each other, they can definitely make a positive contribution to sustainable development at large, to the prosperity, to the people, and to the planet. And I'd like to leave you with this thought and proceed with the presentations that come afterwards that will dive deeper into a very concrete example. Thank you very much from my side.
Thank you very much, Dorina. Thank you very much. A very nice presentation. Now we go to the second presentation of the first session from Dr. Claudia Koch. She's the head of the section S2 at BAM, Digitalization for Quality Infrastructure, and she's the coordinator of the QI Digital Initiative internal at BAM, and where we develop solutions for a modern and digital quality infrastructure. Claudia, the floor is yours. And meanwhile, if there are questions in the chat, please, you can write the question in the chat. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Luana. And I brought some information because, as Dorina said, there might be a digital divide across, like globally, in terms of digital efforts and status. And we wanted to see in conformity assessment, where do we stand? So we see some lighthouse projects, some narrative, but do we know where the different countries and organizations in those countries stand at large? So we conducted the study at BAM to learn about the status of digital transformation and conformity assessment as such an important pillar of quality infrastructure. And let's look into the findings. So first of all, BAM usually does a lot of research in the technical fields for like safety and technology and chemistry, but we also have a little group that has an economics background, and therefore we are able to conduct such studies as well. So our interest was like to find out where do these conformity assessment bodies stand in terms of their digital maturity. But we also wanted to see what drives them. Are there any differences? What hinders them in digital transformation? And then finally, with all those buzzword technologies out there, which ones are actually indeed and in fact in application already? And we did so with some support from other research institutes and especially with support from accreditation bodies worldwide. So we partnered with them and they sent out our questionnaire, our survey, and we are really, really grateful for their support because it helped us to gather almost 1,500 respondents, which is huge and which allows us to really compare internationally and see where the different countries stand. So a special thank you also to UNIDO, who support us in West Africa, but also SWAG, which helped us there tremendously. So we came up with this sample, big sample, and as you might anticipate, most of them are testing laboratories. So we cover the whole quality infrastructure, but testing labs are the biggest groups. Also, calibration labs are well represented in inspection bodies. And also not surprising, it's mainly small and medium-sized companies. So this is the largest part of it. But now let's see what we found out in this study. First of all, as I said, how digital mature are those conformity assessment bodies? And that's a question that's, can be measured and answered by a digital maturity model. So usually, as a scientist, you look into, with such models, you look into the capabilities and the resources an organization has to transform digitally. And you do this in different success factor areas that we found out, for instance, strategy. And you will ask questions like, do you have a digital strategy, a roadmap, a person responsible for this topic? And with this, you answer this on a scale from 1 to 5. And with the help of this model, we could calculate kind of a score on digital maturity and a score for every individual organization, for every country. And here you see it for the whole sample. And you see it's like a normal distribution statistically, but most are basically at the very beginning of their digital journey. And I assume if we like ask any participants outside of our sample, they would be even more at the very beginning. But let's see into like the global distribution. And here we see like the global, the country average of digital maturity. And at the bottom, we see West Africa as a country, but at the top, for instance, UK, United Kingdom, and in between it's scattered. So you don't see any particular pattern in this, which we anticipated. But for instance, European country like Germany is very below. So it's not very advanced in digital maturity. Okay, that's the organizational perspective. But the next question is, do these organizations use digital technologies already? And here you see kind of a list with all those buzzword technologies. And we wanted to know, do you use it at least as a pilot project, or do you plan to use it? Do you discuss about these at least, or is it no issue? And along this scope of possibilities, that's the answer. And mobile and cloud technologies, okay, they are easily accessible and usable. These are already normality in CAPS. But when you look at the bottom, blockchain technology doesn't play a role. We must consider that the data comes from like 3 years ago, maybe 1.5 years ago, depending on the country. So I would assume that nowadays artificial intelligence, not much represented here, but maybe with ChatGPT and the like, it's more accessible meanwhile, and we would see a different picture in these results. But when we look into the countries and we calculated a score of like technology use and awareness, we see a very leading country here, which is Peru, and also in general, South American countries are quite well performing in this regard. And again, at the bottom, there's West Africa, Latvia, smaller countries. So here we see a clearer picture than before. The South American countries have a younger workforce in our sample, and the organizations are also younger. So we assume that might be some connection, that they are more tech savvy. I will just briefly say we also looked into like what is the main motive to drive digital transformation, and it's across all countries. It's like process optimization and efficiency improvements, sometimes more, sometimes less, but this is the main driver. It's not so much about business innovation. That's rarely the case. So it's digitalization is rather a process approach for them. And what keeps them away, and we just look at the top hurdles, and that's time constraints, of course, and it's a complex topic. So it's overwhelming for most small and medium-sized companies, especially in smaller countries. But also lack of resources, not so much as I expected. The exception is, for instance, Africa. And if we just want to summarize some of the findings, when we've seen that in West African countries, it's the lowest digital maturity and the least technology adoption, we also see that the biggest hurdle there is financial resources. So this might, of course, be one of the main explanations for that. But in South America, it looks already a little better from the data that the maturity and technology adoption is quite high there. For Europe, there was too much scatter. It's very diverse picture here. And now what do we do with this? It's just data, facts and figures. For the German panel, okay, we send it out to the world. We informed all the international partners. But for the German results, we thought, well, we want to learn more. We set up a follow-up project, conducted some workshops with more than 100 participants from the lab industry. And we dig deeper in some of the topics. For instance, we found out many don't engage or don't engage enough because they don't know what the return on investment is. They want to learn more about best practices and success stories. And they also said, well, we don't engage as long as customers don't want it. So they are very driven from the market, and that's one thing that we need to address. So the next step for us is setting up more information, because we've seen that it's time constraints and that it's complexity. We want to help them by setting up information and a stronger partner network. So we deducted first next steps. So, and then last slide for me, as I said, quality infrastructure is more than just conformity assessment. So we need to see it as a complex system. And in Germany, we have founded an initiative called QI Digital, where all the partners of quality infrastructure, including PTB and the standardization organization partner, to develop jointly tools and methods and processes like smart standards, digital conformity assessment certificates developed by PTB, for instance. And we try to figure out in pilot projects how they interact, how they need to be developed and to drive it. We also look at framework conditions like regulatory adaptations and a lot of international cooperation that we want to foster in the future as well. If you're interested, please write us. We are very keen to learn more about potential collaborations. And here is my last slide. If you're interested in the study results, we have a lot of publications, reports. If you're interested in QI Digital, let me know. We and our partners are very keen to learn more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you very much. Now we go to the second part of the webinar. As you can see, this brings us to presentation from around the globe. We have 4 continents, and we'll explore how digital transformation is shaping QI worldwide. The first speaker of the day of the second session is Min Xu. She's from the TIC Council China. She is the Chief Representative and Executive Director of TIC Council, and the headquarters of TIC Council is in Brussels. And it is an international association covering 100 independent testing, inspection, and certification companies in more than 160 countries worldwide. Min, the floor is yours. Thank you. I think we do see the presentation. Okay, yes. It's coming back. Yes, now yes. Thank you, Min.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So as Luana introduced, my name is Ming, and I'm work for TIC Council China. So thanks to BAME and UNIDO for hosting this event. I'm honored to join the discussion representing the TIC industry in China. So first of all, please allow me to briefly introduce who we are and our global presence. TIC Council is an international nonprofit association that acts as a unified voice of the testing, inspection, and certification industry. Globally, we have over 100 members conducting independent TIC services. And the TIC Council is headquartered in Brussels, and we have set up offices in Washington, New Delhi, and Shanghai. So as an important party in the quality infrastructure ecosystem, we work closely with policymakers and stakeholders in the regions together to promote the highest standards for safety, quality, ethics, and sustainability. So TIC Council has been present in China since the end of 2021. Currently, we have 21 members, and among which 16 are international ones and 5 are members from China. I'm sure you are very familiar with many of our members here. So to address the theme of today's webinar, digitalization, actually, the implications of digital revolution for the TIC sector are twofold. One is digital for TIC. This refers to how the TIC industry uses digital technologies to enhance and streamline its own operations, unlocking the potential for new services. And 2, TIC for digital. This refers to how the TIC industry provides services in response to new development in the digital space, establishing trust through competence, independence, and impartiality. So let's have a look of some figures to showcase the digitalization level of China's TIC sector. As Dr. Koch just introduced the findings from the survey, actually in 2022, CNAS, the China National Accreditation Body, has also done such a survey of digital transformation, but the result was not included in the BAM's final analysis. So over 700 accredited labs were surveyed, and the result shows about 36% of labs are in the overall planning already to implement the transformation, and 33% of institutions are already in the phase of practical application. There are also other indicators in the survey, and I could not present today due to time restrictions. But in general, if we compare to the statistics horizontally, I mean with other countries, China CAPs are quite progressive in this procedure, and we could observe 3 major characters. So first, a clearer policy guidance and support is eagerly expected from different governing bodies to guide the TIC sector. Secondly, for the labs, awareness on digitalization has been increasing, but the foundation remains relatively weak, so it takes time. Last but not least, despite of increased investment, the outcomes are seen uneven in different sectors and scenarios. So what do we foresee next? From the government perspective, coordination and joint efforts from different government authorities. There are different authorities involved. For example, the Ministry of Information and Industrial Development, State Market Regulation Authority, the National Internet Information Offices, etc., would be desirable to establish a standardization system of digital labs and build public service platforms. And the government should facilitate data sharing among different entities and encourage pilot innovation. As for TIC players, internally, it is important to consolidate different kinds of resources. For example, the capital, technology, human resources, and management process to advance the digitalization within the organization, and externally to apply more digital technologies to industrial scenarios, expanding the scope of digital applications. So China has emerged as a global leader in digitalization and becomes extremely important for our members due to its market size and potential business opportunities in new fields. I would like to share two examples of best practices to show the transformation status in, namely in testing and certification fields. The first case is called a Smart Lab. So this is an unattended lab built by our member, Tufryland. This is an innovation lab which includes key technologies such as full automation, informatization, and cloud integration. So the industrial IoT technologies enable real-time connectivity between all equipments and components, providing a high efficiency and stable network foundation for data sharing and automated operation. So secondly, the digital twin technology is applied to accurately imitate the lab in 3D. After placing an order via the mobile app or computer terminal, clients can monitor the entire testing process in real time and track the progress of the lab, significantly enhancing transparency in the testing industry. In addition, the Smart Lab uses machine learning and deep neural network technologies to optimize equipment efficiency and enable autonomous fault detection. So this kind of smart labs could be introduced to conduct sample testing in many fields. The advantages are obvious. It reduces labor cost and intensity. It significantly improves accuracy. So previously, tests were carried out manually. Now they are completed in batches by robots. Standardized, orderly, and controlled machine operations help eliminate potential errors, mistakes, or inaccuracies that may occur with manual handling. So what's more, it also greatly enhances testing efficiency, as multiple samples can be tested simultaneously, generating large amounts of data in one go. And in addition, clients can monitor the entire testing process and track the progress of experiments via their mobile phones or computers. So the next case I want to share with you is an online platform providing a streamlined, efficient approach to issue transition certificate developed by our member Bureau Veritas. So let's take a GRS certification as an example. GRS stands for Global Recycled Standards. In order to show the goods conforming to the GRS standards in the whole supply chain, transition certificate will be required to issue. This used to be very challenging as the whole process is long and so many suppliers are involved. Now the digital system has provided a solution. Once the suppliers log in, fill in the necessary details, and upload the documents, the platform will automatically retrieve and fill in related information, saving time and reducing errors. After that, certification experts will review these submissions, and the certificates can be generated within 1 to 2 business days. So clients can access these certificates anytime and verify the authenticity via QR codes and collaborate through multi-user and multilingual support. So we can see the benefits here. The platform ensures transparency by allowing clients to access certificates easily and verify their authenticity. This provides full visibility and trust throughout the certification process. Also, it enhances efficiency by automating data entry and document management, reducing manual effort and speeding up the process. So lastly, the platform ensures data security with advanced encryption technologies to protect sensitive information and safeguarding it from unauthorized access. So I will stop here. I look forward to seeing continued collaboration and innovation as we work together to build a more digitalized and resilient quality infrastructure system. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions and would like to discuss further, please feel free to reach out. So back to Luana. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this great presentation and showing us the practice in China. And also thank you for joining so late. For you, it's almost 11 p.m. So thank you very much for this. And now we go to the second speaker of this session, Mr. John Malolela. He's from the Tanzanian Bureau of Standards. He's an experienced ICT officer who joined TBS in 2016, and he brings a unique perspective from his work in Africa. So, John, I would like to ask you to share your screen, please. And meanwhile, I will remind all the audience that you can ask questions in the chat, and we will do our best to answer your questions during or after the event.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Is it
you.
available?
Yes,
Okay.
not in presentation mode yet.
Okay.
Yes, now yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's jump for the presentation from Tanzania Bureau of Standards in Tanzania. I skipped the slides. By introduction, Tanzania Bureau of Standards was established under the Act number 2 of 1975, and it was mandated to take control measures on products, quality control of products of all description, and promote standardization in industry and commerce. TBS is under Ministry of Industry and Trade. Vision for TBS is sustainable standardization for high quality livelihood society. Mission to promote standardization, safety, and quality assurance in industry and commerce through standard development, certification, registration, inspection, testing, and metrology services for sustainable economic, socio-economic development. Tanzania is found in African continent. We have labeled it in red color. And we also promote tourism. We have 5 big animals in the world, so you are welcome. And we have Iceland, Zanzibar, beautiful place. We have Mount Kilimanjaro. So let's jump to TBS with UNIDO. The engagement of UNIDO at TBS. This Tanzania has a business environment growth and innovation called the Begin Project. This is where UNIDO came from, and it is funded by European Union delegation. Among 3 specific objectives, we have specific number 2, increased micro, small, and medium enterprise MSMEs compliance with quality standards and widen market access, reduce standard compliance cost, and enhance consumer protection. This is where UNIDO comes from as the implementer of the project, quality project. And UNIDO through Nelson has conducted maturity assessment between December 2022 to 2023 February. And that report was presented to TBS management with the following strength: the presence of ICT infrastructure, working tools like computers, servers, and so on, experienced ICT personnel, and the presence of management information systems. We have ISQMT and the online application system. And the third one is e-learning portal for online training for SMEs. These are pictures of the mentioned three systems. And we are governed by President Office Public Service Management and the ministry responsible for ICT governance. And we have the controller e-government authority under the same ministry. The following activities agreed as an opportunity for improvement that will address identified gaps from the conducted TBS ICT material assessment. We have capacity building to ICT personnel, development of laboratory management information system, development of QR code systems for traceability, and development of e-commerce for sales of standards, acquisition of equipment, ICT equipments, example laptops, and we have video conferencing facilities. Digital transformation roadmap. Through these processes identified, TBS is now working for the ERP, as we can see in the diagram, to have a database for test, database for metrology, standardization, certification process, registration, and inspection. And we have QR system, web store system, this all be integrated and having a dashboard that gives easy access. Tanzania's efforts in digitizing its quality infrastructure. Tanzania has taken a great achievement in modernizing QI through digital tools, ensuring global competitiveness, improved public delivery services, and industrial advancement. Quality infrastructure and its importance. Under standardization, developing and promoting standards, quality assurance, our conformity assessment, certification, testing and inspection, metrology, measurement systems, accreditation, ensuring conformity to standards. And the importance to digitization is increased efficiency and accuracy in testing and certification, global competitiveness for Tanzania products and services, enhanced transparency, traceability, and accessibility. The ongoing project that I identified is development of laboratory information system to enhance productivity and provide TBS laboratory with sample tracking, testing parameters, and related calculation, test reports, and the delivery, auto-generation of statement and the results. QR code system for traceability, and a standard compliance that reduce standard compliance cost and enhance consumer protection. Also, e-commerce for sales of standards. TBS is developing e-commerce web store for subscription platform for sales of technical standards and the publication. These all projects are funded by UNIDO. We have interface for laboratory information system, which is ongoing project. a QR code system, and we have for web store. Impact of digitization in Tanzania economy and global trade: increased efficiency in trade, improve the public trust, and support for innovation and entrepreneurship. Future initiative and the challenges: continued expansion of e-government services related to quality standards and certification, further integration of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and the blockchain for advanced metrology, quality control, and traceability. Expansion of digital literacy training for industry and business to fully utilize QI digital services. Challenges: digital divide. Not all businesses, especially in rural areas, have access to internet and digital tools. Data security and privacy to ensure the protection of sensitive data and the digital system. Capacity building to continue investment in training personnel and developing technological infrastructure to handle digital tools effectively. Lastly, we thank UNIDO through the EU and the UNIDO for continuous support and valuable projects that Tanzania needs all your support. Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much,
time.
Leon. Thank you for this great presentation and for providing this overview of the activity you are conducting in digitalization within TBS. And now we go to Latin America. And I would like to ask Diego, to invite Mr. Diego Rodriguez. He is the technical director of the Colombian National Accreditation Body, ONAC. He's an industrial engineer specialized in metrology. He's also the vice president of the inspection subcommittee of the Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation. Diego, the floor is yours. I would like to ask.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to share my screen, but I guess our last colleague is still sharing screen. Sorry.
No, I think you should be able to share automatically.
Okay, so please.
Yes.
Let me know if you.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Luana, thank you and the ONUDI team for the invitation. I'm really glad to be here with you representing my entity. My entity is ONAC, the National Accreditation Body of Colombia. And I will show you how was our experience here in the digital transformation with these three specific examples. The first of this is related with CIPSO. CIPSO is our digital platform. So I will tell you what about this. The second topic is related with data analytics. How ONAC having used this information from the assessments. And finally, I will show you this new technology, this very interesting technology related with assisted reality glasses. So let's start because the time is very short. Well, first of all, my name is Diego Rodriguez Joleanes. I'm the National Technical Director at ONAC. And if you want to know more about my entity, just please take the photo on this QR code and it will take you to the YouTube channel. So in the next slide, you can find the same code, so no worries. Well, talking about the first part about CIPSO. First, I need to explain how was our process in the past. Well, as you can imagine, was a very hard process. The initial applications were submitted using a physical form, often with a CD containing all required documentation. So you can imagine how hard it was for our users. The requests had to be filed in person at ONAC's main office, creating logistical challenges. So, you know, Colombia is a huge country, so people needed to go to our office to just file one requirement or one document. Manual and time-consuming quotation processes, delayed responses. So these quotation processes that is very, very important for our users was totally manual. So you can imagine the problem. Each conformity assessment body's information was stored in a physical files, making it complex document management. So we needed to work with a lot of paper, tons of paper. So it was a pain in the neck. But now we have implemented this system, SIPSO. We call it SIPSO. But first, I would like to give you some information about this project, this development project. We have invested more than 35,000 hours in the whole project. Nowadays, we have 11 functions or modules. We have automated invoices. The billing process is automated now. We have the whole notification process in a digital way. Our users can sign their own contract with us online, just with electronic signings or signatures. And finally, I need to say that our system is a custom development. Yeah, just for us, the accreditation process in Colombia. And as a result of this project, we have a lot of benefits, but here, among them, we have here few benefits. The first, that the users can access to the whole information of their own processes through our system. We have now a 24/7 system. That's really different than before. Of course, we have time savings in the first step of the process, in the 2 steps in the first part of the process. And finally, we have a lot of automatic validations in the same process. And if you want to know more about this system, the details of the platform, just go to the website, please, and you can find them there, the whole process and the details of this project. Well, now talking about the use of data, I need to say that the accreditation processes, in the accreditation process, we have a lot of information, a lot of them. For example, we have dates, names, addresses, requirements, non-conformities, and so on. And we use them in these new disciplines, the data analytics and business intelligence. Yeah, we have been applied these, let's say, disciplines in our entity just for improve our decision making and so on. And here I have some uses of this data analytics. First, I have this example. These dashboards or reports is just for our users. They can access to these reports in an interactive way. They can filter, and also they can use some slicers to personalize the information. Here they have just demographic information of them. We have also these examples. These are dashboards just for internal purposes. They permit us to control and monitor our processes and track on schedule. So this is really, really important to us. Finally, here I have another example. This is a dashboard also to our users. They can find the information about the trends and statistics about non-conformity, so they can improve their own quality system just watching this information from us. And finally, I'm really happy to show this implementation in our entity. This new technology are very fun. We have enjoyed using the assisted reality glasses in a specific activity in the monitoring processes. From the standard, we have to monitor our assessors every 3 years. So with this technology, we can do that, but in a real-time communication in a digital way, making a lot of progress in money savings, resources savings, time savings, and so on. And also, well, the pictures, as you can see, is from one of our assessors. So if you want to know more about this, just let me know and I will send you more information. And because of the time is very short, that's all. I'm really glad to be here once again. Thanks for having me. If you want to contact me through email or LinkedIn, just write me and that's it. And if you want to write some questions on the chat, I will answer all of them. So thank you, Luana, for the invitation once again. And that's all.
Thank you very much, Diego. It was a nice presentation to hear also the best practice that ONAC is implementing. And so now there is a question. No, okay. Now we'd like to invite, we go back to Europe. Now we go to Italy. I invite Alessandro Nizzi from Accredia. Accredia is the Italian national accreditation body. And Alessandro is an economist with expertise in economic research, statistical analysis, and assessment of financial markets. His professional journey includes role at Accredia and Asilea, and also the Ministry of Education, of Economic Development in Italy. Alessandro, the floor is yours, and you can go ahead sharing your screen.
Yeah. Thank you, Luana, for your kind presentation. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So in my presentation, I will describe a research work we carried out with the National Consortium for Informatics. There is a sort of a change of perspective as respect what you say till now, because in a sense, I try to describe how quality infrastructure we might study with this research project, how quality infrastructure can help the development of artificial intelligence systems to be reliable, to be transparent for the accountability, to be ethic and safe for European citizens. Because the starting point was the Artificial Intelligence Act by European Union, of course. Can you see the second slide?
No.
I am freeze for, okay, so here.
Yes, now yes.
Yeah, now you can, okay. So first of all, I'm not an expert in artificial intelligence. I coordinated this team of experts about artificial intelligence. And what came out is that artificial intelligence is not a new technology. I mean that artificial intelligence in the algorithmics is something that comes from the beginning of the last century, the 90s, the 19th century. And but nowadays with big data and computational power, it came out with as a disruptive technology. And the issues we try to address through quality infrastructure depends on the field of application of artificial intelligence systems. This research work lasted almost 2 years. We started when there were no there was no regulation in Europe. There was just a draft. The ISO standards were limited, so it was kind of tricky to test how quality infrastructure can address these issues. But as artificial intelligence to be a force in the economy, an important technology that is pervasive for economies and for society, it became crucial that AI systems could be developed with fairness, transparency, and accountability. In the report, we describe how ethical assessments change over the time, from simple audits to more holistic models, like, of course, impact assessments. Also, we studied the international standards, guidelines from OECD and UNESCO that emphasize transparency, fairness, and human rights and protection, ensuring AI systems act responsibly, in the end, promoting societal trust. But for us, for our playing field, let's say, the European regulation was a milestone in the European Union. It was published last July, and this act aims to classify AI systems on risk levels and provide different levels of requirements, also in terms of assessment procedures, depending on the level of risk level, from self-assessment to third-party assessment. And with this regulation, the intent of EU is not only to protect fundamental rights, maybe this is priority, but also to promote trust in AI technologies, and doing that, encourage innovation. Crucially, to do that, EU AI Act needs the expertise of CENELEC for technical standards, ensuring that AI systems meet consistent safety and transparency requirements, benchmarks. This analysis of the role of accredited conformity assessment in governing the development of artificial intelligence systems started from the study of this European regulation and of its key features. Specifically, we highlighted the involvement of course, of notified bodies in verification activities for AI system manufacturers. The risk-based approach. Maybe all of you knows that the Act outlines 4-tier risk-based classification from unacceptable to minimal risk. And this classification system helps ensure that AI technologies align with the ethical and the regulatory requirements. I mean, high-risk systems are subject to extensive requirements under the Act that depends on the high level of risk, of course. Among them, data quality is paramount, of course, but also the training of data set that must be accurate and relevant to minimize biases on the data that train the artificial intelligence system. And finally, transparency, that is critical, of course, because users need a clear understanding of how artificial intelligence reaches its decisions to ensure the accountability and, in the end, the user trust, the trust in the market, of course. About the involvement of notified bodies, the notified bodies are involved in verification activities, not for all the high-risk artificial intelligence system, but only for the biometric ones when there are no harmonized standard or common specification available. Also, the notification bodies are involved in the verification activities, of course, when the AI system is already regulated by other Union Act, for example, elevators, medical devices, machinery directives. We came up with this finding. It's a clear finding that if you develop an artificial intelligence in the medical field, you have to be compliant to both regulations, the one for medical devices and the Artificial Intelligence Act 2. Of course, the transition, let's say, from this high-level requirements outlined in the European regulation on artificial intelligence to their concrete application in the development of artificial intelligence systems require as usual, the involvement of technical standardization. And this is why, through the standardization request, the European Commission defines the so-called items that refers to the regulations requirements for developing technical standards that have to be aligned with the provisions of the regulation itself, of course. And these items go from, as you can see from the slide, from, for example, governance and quality of dataset, to human oversight, cybersecurity, and so on. An important part of our research project was the creation of 3 proof of concepts.
Alessandro, we have 2 minutes left. Sorry for interrupting you. 2 minutes.
I'll be brief. 2 in the medical field. The first one about the melanoma detection, and the second about stratification of patients with multiple sclerosis. We tested the process for the assessment of these AI systems against the ISO technical regulation number 24027 on the management of biases. And through this simulation, we demonstrated how the quality infrastructure can improve the effectiveness and safety of these systems. Also, we created another proof of concept for quality management in public administration, specifically the National Institute for Insurance Against Accidents at Work. In this case, we simulated the controls applied in the ISO 42001 technical standard to verify the correct setup of the integration process for an AI system used to support anti-fraud activities. What came out from this last proof of concept is that the improvement that and the best practice that came out from this proof of concept that have to be put in place by the National Institute refers to the proper allocation of responsibilities, organizational efficiency, data governance, education and training, of course, internal and external communication also. To conclude, the AI Act reflects this balanced approach in the intention of the AI Act, of course, this balanced approach to AI, fostering innovation from one side and safeguarding human rights and public trust on the other. To conclude, it is important to stress, to point out that unlike other guidelines, the AI Act provides for a sanctioning framework and will come fully into effect 36 months after its publication in the official journal of the European Union that happened last July. And this progressive entry into force of the regulation reflects the complexity of the impact of the regulation for economy and for the producer of artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro, for this nice presentation and the result of this interesting study. Thank you. I would like to ask you to go to the next slide, where we have the speakers. Yes, okay. Now I would like to conclude the session 2 of today's workshop, and we go to the third session, this panel discussion that will be moderated by Amelia Espinosa-Tiffer from UNIDO. Amelia, I give the floor to you to present the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Luana, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. My name is Amelia Espinosa, and I am a project management specialist at UNIDO, and it's my privilege to moderate today's panel session. After the insightful presentations we just heard, we would like to continue this event with a panel discussion on unlocking opportunities through digital transformation in quality infrastructure. And for this, we would like to focus on requirements and key challenges in QI digitalization, solutions and best practices to overcome digitalization challenges, and some recommendations to QI stakeholders in their digitalization process. And for this discussion, we are joined by 5 distinguished speakers, all of whom are very known and respected in the quality infrastructure community, but please let me introduce them to you before we start with the panel. We have the participation of Ms. Marta Mejia. She is the Executive Director of the Mexican accreditation entity, EMA. She is responsible for leading and managing activities related to the implementation of accreditation criteria and oversees the operation and growth of accreditation schemes. She's also a lead assessor for several ISO standards and actively represents EMA in regional and international accreditation forums, where she has held various leadership roles, and she also represents Mexico in working groups like ISO Casco. So thank you, Marta, for joining us today. And from Mexico, we go to Germany. We also have the honor to have Dr. Sascha Eichstädt. He is the working group leader of the German Metrology Institute, PTB, on digitalization coordination. He received his diploma in mathematics in 2008 at the HU Berlin and his PhD in theoretical physics in 2012 at the TU Berlin. And from 2008 to 2017, he joined the group Mathematical Modeling and Data Analysis at PTB. And his main research area are signaling processing and sensor networks. So welcome, Sascha. Next, we will have the honor to have Mrs. Nesrine Alkemash. She is the digital learning team leader at ISO. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in chemical engineering from the Jordan University of Science and Technology. And with extensive experience in international development, Nesrine has a solid background in providing technical assistance and training services related to standardization infrastructure in more than 30 countries. She is currently responsible for the implementation of ISO's digital learning solutions strategy to enhance the digital learning and development capabilities of ISO members, as well as the development of the ISO Digital Capability Maturity Assessment Model. So thank you, Nesrine. It's always a pleasure to have you. We also have the honor to have Mr. Brahim Hula. He started working with accreditation since 2001 and became passionate about conformity assessment activities and their relation to trade facilitation and consumer protection. Brahim had worked for 2 accreditation bodies in completely different economic and cultural backgrounds and was part of the experience of running a multi-economy accreditation body. Having helped with international works in 2001, it enabled him to develop not only specific knowledge of international cooperation mechanisms, but also a valuable and transferable skill set in this past phase sector. So thank you, Brahim, for joining us. And last but not least, we will have Mr. Steve Sidney from the National Laboratory Association from South Africa. He is an electric engineer from the University of Johannesburg and has vast experience in conformity assessment and accreditation. And he is the executive director of the National Laboratory Association and is an active member of a number of QI-related organizations, both in South Africa as well as internationally. So thank you, Steve, and thank you to all our impressive panelists that are joining us today. And to start the panel, I would like to first discuss the requirements and key challenges of the digitalization. So let me turn to Steve. So Steve, from the African and South African perspective, I mean, we heard already the example, the results of the survey from Claudia. So I would like to ask you, from your experience from the African and South African perspective, what do you think are the key challenges and requirements for conformity assessment bodies for a successful digital transformation? And in your opinion, what needs to be considered or addressed? So over to you, Steve.
Good afternoon and good morning and good evening, whatever's appropriate. Thank you, Amelia, for the lovely introduction, and thank you, colleagues. Well, I think this is an interesting subject, and I hope that I'm not going to be the spoiler in the presentations, because I would like to bring perhaps us all down to earth a little bit and to bring our feet back to the ground, to reflect some realities. And I guess the realities that I want to bring about, and I think these are really the challenges. I think there's no doubt, let me say for a start, that there's no doubt that there are many benefits. There are many benefits, but we should not neglect the fact that in many parts of the world, even in sophisticated economies, the question of there are a number of challenges, and not least of them, I think, and I reflect certainly from a South African and hopefully a Southern African, but perhaps even broader African context, are issues as simple and as mundane as having regular power. And that may seem a bit strange to those of you who are in, as I say, in more developed economies, but certainly from where I sit, we've spent about 18 months here in South Africa with irregular power. This has been solved to some degree, but we certainly are not out of the woods yet. And if you read what the experts are saying, there may well be more to come. And so such a resource as power, given the our dependency on it for this digitalization, I think is a huge challenge and should not be underestimated. I've traveled extensively in Africa, and I would say every visit that I've made, I've been faced with power outages at various times. And that really, I think you can get some idea about the impact that will have not only on frustration for users, but also the reliability of equipment and its longevity. So that's something that I think needs to be considered. I think the other thing that needs to be considered or thought about is the fact that we've seen some implementations which are may I say, from very large organizations. And the resources, the financial resources that are required to do this are not inconsequential. And a lot of my members, the members of our association, and certainly a lot of the members in Africa, come from fairly small organizations. I think Lana mentioned, or in the presentation, sorry, not Lana's presentation, the first presentation, we mentioned the fact that small cabs or conformity assessment bodies are involved, and I just wonder when I speak to our members whether they have the resources, the financial resources, human resources, skills to implement some of what we've seen in some wonderful presentations, and so. I think it will be wonderful for authorities to start to insist on having this information digitalized and available, but are they prepared to pay for it? Are consumers prepared to pay for it? And who is going to pay for it? So I think this is something that we really need to consider, and they are a challenge. We should not think that this is so easy. I smile a little bit, if I may, to say that I don't know one organization in South Africa who can afford to have an economist, a full-time economist on their staff. So I have to say that when I think about that, I mean, it is beyond, I think, the grasp of some people in some organizations in some countries around the world, I would estimate. So, as I say, I think we should not think about only about the fact that this can be done. Of course, it can be done. It's demonstrated to be done, but there are certainly, I think, impediments that will challenge us. And I think finally, on that score, we should also be very wary of the old computing watchword, which is giga, garbage in, garbage out. And we should be very careful and cautious about providing information which actually is not information. Information, in my view, adds a layer of something to the data or the data that is that's made available. So that, I think, is certainly something that I think we should be aware of, and we need to consider in terms of challenges. Of course, there are huge opportunities, and I don't want to. So I started on the negative. I want to finish on the positive. There are huge opportunities. I think we've seen some of them today. I don't think we should repeat them because they're clear. I think they can be seen. There's no discussion about the fact that it can be made to work. I think the problem we have, though, is to find a way to make it work. And that may require different solutions for different, in different organizations and in different member states. And I think this is really, we should be very wary that we kind of walk or fall before we run, because I think that it is important to bear that in mind. And so, you know, I want to leave us on a positive note. And the positive note is to say we have to embrace the change. It's going to come. There's no doubt about that. But we shouldn't be ignorant or ignore. Perhaps I should say ignore the challenges that will face us to make it happen. And as I say, especially in smaller organizations and privately owned organizations. But thank you very much. I really thank you for the opportunity. It's humbling to be in front of a lot of people that I know and I've worked with closely, and their views and their opinions are certainly respected. So thanks very much, Amelia. I hope that I've done justice to what you wanted.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for bringing us also the African perspective and the importance of have in mind some preconditions before we can talk even about digitalization, like having a stable net. No? So next, I want to shift to the topic of accreditation. And for this, I would like to invite Marta to answer similar questions. So from the Mexican and Latin American perspective, we already heard about the experience of Colombia, but now I would like to hear, based on your experience, what are the key challenges and requirements for accreditation bodies for the successful digital transformation and what needs to be considered or addressed? Over to you, Marta.
Thank you, Amelia. I would like to say thank you again for the invitation and the opportunity to share with everyone our experience. In this case, I'm going to respond related to EMA, the accreditation body that I represent, and also the region, IAC, the American Accreditation Corporation. So as all the previous speakers mentioned, we are moving on this digital transformation world. And I also agree with Steve in his opinion about this progress. And for example, in the case of Mexico, we are working very hard right now, trying to move very fast because the digital transformation is running very fast. So we identify some challenges, very important key challenges that we need to take in consideration in order to move on this new digital transformation. For example, we, as accreditation bodies, we need to take in consideration when we are talking about in which areas or in what part of our process we need to ensure that compliance with some standards and regulations. First of all, because as accreditation body, we need to comply with the international standard, the ISO 17011, but we need to also consider the requirements specific for each accreditation program. There is some conformity assessment process and activity that in some cases the regulator said, I'm not sure that it's confident that you use, for example, Diego shared with us in his presentation this new opportunity from using the glasses. So that's the way that we think that we need to work together with regulators and try to consider on this process what kind of activities we can support with some tools related to digital transformation. Of course, one other challenge is the security of the information, the confidentiality. I think that is more important because everything is in the cloud. We need some specific process to consider how we can handle the evaluation reports, the access to the information, control that, trying to avoid that there is not problem with the systems or the information related to the caps. Of course, training. We need to move, as I mentioned at the beginning, very fast, but we need to move all the people that are involved in the accreditation, not only the people that work directly in the accreditation body. We need to move the conformity assessment bodies, the CAPs, that are accredited or in process to be accredited. Of course, also the assessors. They are a very important part because if we want to use these new digital tools, platforms or methodologies, we need to have the skills, how we can do assessment online, how we can use these glasses for the assessment, how we can inspect some activities by remote. So this is an important challenge. Of course, try to work together with the stakeholders, because maybe the confidence is an important issue, trying to giving them the opportunity to say this confident the process, even we are doing the accreditation process, but these new tools. And we need to move in knowing how AI is working right now. There is a lot of tools related to that we can use as accreditation bodies, and we need to be updated each time because this is moving very fast. And the transparency and the trust of the systems, it's important that all the process that we move to this digital transformation established with this confidence to stakeholders, to regulators, to all the users from the accreditation bodies, of course, and the result from the CAPs. And in our case, we are working right now trying to achieve all these challenge, establish a commit, establish some, identify in which areas is easy, participate very active in these kinds of webinars or in the standardization, trying to identify what is now moving on these conformity assessment activities. And of course, we need to work a lot with the regulatory in each country, because in sometimes they are not familiar with these activities, and they say, is the same process, or what do you need for provide this confidence? And of course, talking about Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation, IAC, right now the IAC has been working, of course, in the digital transformation project. Right now they have a very interesting project with PTV. One of these goals of this project is trying to move all the activities of the secretariat in that cooperation, trying to use these tools, this information, and they have started with some activities. They established a strategic plan that includes, for example, the training and the education. As I already mentioned, I think that we need to be convinced, of course, accreditation bodies, everyone that are part of this process, that is how we can use these tools related to digital activities. In this case, IAC is developing some training programs for the peer evaluators. They are trying to provide us as evaluators information and resources, how we can use the AI on these activities, how we can have some confidence in the accreditation process when we are conducting some assessment online. Of course, they are working in the registration of voting systems. As cooperation, they need to review the reports from each accreditation body, and part of this process, they are trying to move in some database that allows IAC more efficiency about the records to receive the votes. ISO is the expert on this, but we are trying to move as region on this, and of course, give the facilities to everyone to provide information, and more easy right now that is, instead that we need to have a meeting and see each other. So this process of this database is very useful. I think that in this case, the region of IAC has the opportunity to driving on this digital transformation, because there is an active participation since the executive committee and the chairs of each committee. In this case, for example, they participate in all the international meetings, as maybe Brahim is going to mention from IF. They are working very hard on this, trying to introduce these tools in all the activities as accreditation bodies. So that gives us some feedback that allow us to exchange best practices and move this to this region of America. Of course, have a strategic alliance. I think it's important, since as Mexico, and of course as IAC as region, as I already mentioned, we are working with PTV very fast on these activities, trying to move the secretary on this new world. And it's important to focus, of course, in digital transformation. So finally, I would like to mention that trying to move for this digital transformation in accreditation bodies is easy, but we need to work a lot. We need to move and be updated each time, consider the regulatory compliance, the opinions of the stakeholders, the continued evolution of the technology tools, and of course, in the case of IAC, they are working very hard with this, trying to have this robust quality infrastructure in all the American region.
Thank you, Marta. Thanks for presenting the perspective and what are you doing in Mexico and also at the IAC. Definitely, Emma's advancements in digitalization serve as a model and inspiration also to the region. So now I would like to move to some solutions and best practices after we heard what are the challenges of QI digitalization. And I would like to start with standardization. As you know, standardization is a pillar of QI and plays a pivotal role in the development of sectors and value chains. And the digitalization of the standardization process allows for a better and more democratic access to standards and to the standardization process itself. Therefore, I would like to invite Nasreen to share with us some strategies or approaches that have proven to be effective in tackling the challenges of digital transformation in a standardization. And Nasreen, maybe you can also share any unexpected insights or lessons learned from the ISO perspective and based on your experience in more than 30 countries that you would like to share with us. So thank you. Over to you, Nasreen.
Thank you very much, Emilia. And as you know, I was not able to connect using the link that you have sent, but nevertheless, we always have solutions. So I'm connecting through using the computer of Brahim. So don't be confused. It's me who's talking. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to talk about what kind of solution we ISO is thinking in terms to support the ISO developing country member in their digital transformation journeys. So as you know, within the ISO, within the framework of the ISO Action Plan for Developing Country, we have one of the core initiative that we have been working on since the last 2 years is the development of a digital capability maturity assessment model. And this project has started in before 2 years and is still ongoing. We are expecting to finalize the phase of this project by beginning of next year, and this project will include 2 major deliverables. We are going to talk about them. One detailed model and one will be used as a quick scan model. So basically, the scope of this project is to develop this model that will help the national standards body to assess their digital capability and understand where is their current levels of maturity and where they want to be in the over a period of time. And also it provides them with a kind of strategic roadmap that will support them through their digital transformation journey. And also this will include a kind of set of use cases and best practices that can facilitate the execution of their strategy. And this is one of the main features of this model that we are currently working on is the model tried to align the organization, a strategic corporate strategy of the NSBs with the digital transformation strategy, because what we have seen, we have also done a lot of research, desktop research, and as many of us knows, the failure rate, unfortunately, in digital transformation is quite high. So we thought that this needs to be driven, it needs to be connected with the NSB strategy, and this is the digital transformation strategy will be as a kind of enabler to drive the achievement also of the NSB strategy. So to achieve real digital transformation, this implies that the maturity assessment that this organization will carry will also employ, will take into consideration having a balanced approach of applying both technology and also business improvement. So this means at the end, what we are aiming, the desired result is to merge the corporate strategy connected with the digital transformation strategy and came up with what we call a business digital strategy that will help them to achieve what they are aiming to. One of another feature of this project, the project is not only focused on the standardization activity. So the project also consider all the types, different types, any types of services and product that is developed by these organizations. And especially if we're looking from the development country perspective, we know most of our members, they are carrying many of quality infrastructure activity under the same umbrella. So they are doing conformity assessment, metrology, market surveillance, accreditation, and so on. So the assessment, the scope of the assessment is across the whole business model of the organization. And the assessment will not just provide the maturity level or just scoring, which a normal digital transformation assessment will typically do, but also it will define the set of use cases needed to achieve the what has been defined in terms of digital transformation projects and initiative within the organization strategy. And also it will support with defining the key performance indicator and best practices, because if we don't measure how we're doing, then we cannot tell if whether the objective has been achieved or not. So in simple terms, this model is designed around a concept or based on four main pillars. One of them is what we call business model component, and this include 9 different areas, and this brings us back to the scope of the assessment is across the whole organization. Also, we have what we call this digital business lever. What are your strategic objectives? What you are trying to do or to achieve as a result of this transformation, and also the digital capability needed or relevant for your organization. So maybe just I can give some example, like for example, if we talk about the business model component, this is basically represent the fundamental capability and element that define how an organization is creating, deliver, and capture value. And this include looking into details into the service model, cost model, performance, processes, resources, and so on. Regarding the digital capabilities component of this model, which is the main pillar, is basically looking on the technological side of the digital transformation, what kind of tools, technology, competencies you need to have in place, as well as the skill necessary to enable and support digital transformation initiative. An example, just to name a few, like for example, the use of data analytics, machine learning, cybersecurity, and so on. So as I mentioned, this project will aim at the end to have two deliverables. One, we call it Digital Maturity Assessment for Standard for Strategy, IT Strategy, or Digital Transformation Strategy Development, the DMAS. And this is basically designed to support and assess the ISO member strategy and driver in line with their digital capability across the entire business model. And this, as a result, at the end, as in terms of output, this will enable a kind of strategic foresight through the development of the digital roadmap. This is one of the deliverable, but this will require some kind of high level of efforts needs to be provided in order to be able to come up with the digital transformation roadmap. But also at the same time, we thought about developing a kind of a quick scan model, which will be basically re-engineered from the basic or the detailed model. And this will enable any national standards body to use it as a tool to assess themselves where they are standing, to assess their level of maturity across the different 9 business model component, and also will give them a kind of a guidance, what are the terms of initiative, what are the initiative, the project that you need to consider or you can start thinking on in order to drive your digital transformation journey. During this project, we have been working with the different ISO members across the different region because we want to test if this model is workable, is valid. So we went through a set of processes, and one of them we conducted a survey, and this survey has helped us to identify the initial readiness of this member. Based on the result of this survey, then we have been able to select like 8 pilot countries around the world to work with us, this has helped us a lot in terms of testing the model with this member and running a couple of iteration in order to ensure that the model is valid and it can be used by any ISO member. The challenge we have faced that we need to come with a model that can be used by 170 national standards body across the world, and we know that one size doesn't fit all. Considering this approach, so the model has been designed in a way that can be applied, is flexible enough and agile, that will enable any ISO member to be used across their different type of services and product they are providing to their stakeholder and users in the country. So this is basically in a nutshell what have been done. We are expecting to release this model by early next year, and it will be provided to all the ISO members. And as a result of that, we'll start also providing kind of different capacity building activities to support the country in carrying out this kind of assessment, development of digital transformation journey, which is linked again to their corporate strategy, and support them also to on a limited scale, let's say, not on it for the execution of this digital strategy. And definitely, maybe I would like also to highlight that also we have been coordinating with UNIDO on this project. And yeah, we are working to see how we can leverage the work that have been done by UNIDO and by ISO to further support the ISO developing country member. And yeah, by that I can, I came into my intervention, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Nazreen, for your presentation. Indeed, ISO and UNIDO have been supporting our member states to digitalize their standardization activities, and I know that some joint work is coming soon, so stay tuned. Another of our long-standing partners of UNIDO is PTB, with which we share the vision and have collaborated in several initiatives related to metrology, but also QI at large. And PTB is a pioneer in digitalization and metrology. And thus, I would like to ask Sasha the following question. And Sasha, could you please share with us what strategies or approaches have proven to be effective in tackling the challenges of digital transformation in metrology? And are there any unexpected insights or lessons learned from PTB's experience that you would like to share with us? So over to you, Sasha.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question.
If you can turn on your camera, please.
I do have my camera on. You should see me. I can see me in the preview. I don't know why you can't.
Okay, yes, I can see you now.
Okay, sorry. yeah. Thanks for the great questions, and also thanks for having me. Yeah, indeed, one of the main experience or learnings, not only from within PTB, but also from international projects on digitalization, is that, well, in a nutshell, digitalization is not an IT project. So if you look into the details of the things being implemented and technologies being used to digitalize processes or internal organizational structures, most of these technologies are already available for quite some time. So we already have the internet for years now. We have structured data formats like XML and related formats for years. We have the IoT, Internet of Things, for quite some time now, and so on. So all of that is mostly already there for a couple of years. So it's not about developing new technologies. It is about standardizing the way we use that technology, harmonizing interfaces, harmonizing data formats, digital processes, and so on, and also fostering a cultural change, a work cultural change. So we need to come to a quality infrastructure where we collaborate not only within our realm, so to say, so not only within standardization, within conformity assessment, within metrology and so on, but also between the different pillars. And this is the second experience that we made quite a few years ago. We started as Metrology Institute working on our own digital strategy and its implementation, but then realized that this is not possibly implemented very well and used and picked up very well if it's not connected to the activities from other pillars in the quality infrastructure. So that's why we partnered a few years ago with BAM, BM, with DIN, DAX, DKE, so with the national quality infrastructure bodies, and created the before mentioned QI Digital project and initiative. And there we do what I think is also needed in regions in the world and also on the international level, and that is a collaboration between the different pillars of the quality infrastructure. Overall, it needs to be recognized, must be recognized that digitalization should never be an aim on its own, so just because of it. The world in large is becoming more and more complex at an increasing pace. New things like greenwashing, new things like electronic vehicles, supply equipment, hydrogen life cycle, artificial intelligence, to just name a few. This is an increasing complexity in our world. And of course, the quality infrastructure needs to cope with this complexity, which also means it becomes complexer itself, because there are new standards that need to be developed and implemented, new regulations coming, new types of measurements needed, conformity assessment, accreditation bodies. All of these are facing an increasing complexity. Digitalization is one factor of this complexity, but also is a potential solution to that. So what we realized is that we can use digital tools to, let's say, hide a bit of the complexity. If you have a software tool that is well built and have this designed in a customer end user friendly way, then you can make this software hide all the complexity that is needed to apply for an accreditation, to apply for a certificate from the end user, and you can guide the user through the different steps that are needed. However, if you consider this from an end user, let's say for a manufacturer's point of view, for instance, maybe quite new to the quality infrastructure, wants to bring a new innovative product on the market, and then is puzzled where to start. There, we need to bring information from the various QI bodies together to guide these companies. Okay, what are the regulations I need to take into account that requires that those are findable by a machine? Nobody wants to manually put together all this information in a document and then having someone read it. What are the standards that I need to take a look at? And again, these standards need to be machine readable and accessible by a software tool guide for this guidance, because nobody wants to copy and paste the information and prepare something for that manufacturer, and so on. So the various developments in the quality infrastructure bodies need to become interoperable, need to work together, need to be linked and aligned with each other to really have a successful digitalization in the quality infrastructure. And luckily, there is on an international level an initiative where a number of international organizations signed a so-called joint statement of intent. And that is really a cornerstone, started about 2.5-3 years ago, and is now signed by basically all the larger international quality infrastructure bodies, ISO, IC, CIE, CIPM, OML, so all these hopefully known abbreviations. And that statement is a commitment of all of these to collaborate in the digital transformation of the quality infrastructure. And one particular example from PDB's perspective, of course, we are a metrology institute, so we care a lot about the units of measurement. So one particular aspect therein is the digital representation of units of measurement. if you have a machine-readable standard and you have a measuring instrument that you want to do a conformity assessment for in a basically automated way using digital tools and interfaces, then it's very more reliable and also very more simple if you have this have the same representation of units of measurement in all of these systems, in the standards, in the accreditation database, in the national requirements and regulations, and the documentation of the measuring instrument. So this is one example of where we need to come together and collaborate to harmonize the way we let machines talk to each other in order to leverage the possibilities of digitalization. Another important aspect is collaboration across the globe. We heard that in the previous presentations and interventions that there are huge differences across the various regions and countries, and this is why it's for us so important to also incorporate these. I'm, for instance, involved in the OIML, so in the International Organization for Legal Metrology, and there is a long-running collaboration with the emerged countries and economies with so-called emerging metrology systems, and we are collaborating with that community very closely for the digitalization efforts. And the same for the PTB's International Collaboration Department. We started last year a so-called capacity building project that is based on regional expertise and knowledge. So so-called capacity building based on regional expertise and knowledge, in short, CABREC. And this is a very special program and collaboration format because it is really meant to be a collaboration on eye level, and it is a collaboration where we have a large number of national projects from all around the world coming together, working on similar projects or with similar categories, but then also realize from each other where the differences are and where they may collaborate to overcome challenges. And there we also have what Steve mentioned earlier, that there are partners that say that, well, for us, a national digitalization project is already ensuring that we have stable power and internet connection. And that's a very different digitalization project than in another country where they talk about some cloud infrastructure to collect data from EV charging stations. So by having these groups of people talk to each other, they learn from each other and also develop new solutions to their individual problems. So we need to come together. We need to come together on an international level to learn from each other. We need to come together between the different pillars of the quality infrastructure. And we need to stop considering digitalization as an IT project.
Thank you, Sasha, for the insightful presentation and for highlighting the need of having coordination between the actors, not only at the international level, but also at the national level. And that brings me to the last question that I would like to point out to Brahim. You have extensive experience at the national, regional, and international level, not only in accreditation, but at QI in general. Therefore, to close this panel, I would like to ask you to share with us and our participants, how can digitalization foster the linkages between the different actors involved in QI? And which specific actions will you recommend to QI stakeholders to support their digital transformation?
Thank you very much, Emilia. It was a big pleasure to listen to the different presenters, and that aligns very well what we are doing in IF at the international level to have digitalization embraced. Embracing digitalization is not anymore a luxury. It is really vital for us to stay relevant. Industry and users, they are advancing with different technologies and they are being used, and we need as components and pillars of the quality infrastructure to be up to date and also to have the initiative for these. So with the diversity of the initiatives that happen around the world and the development of technologies, we need to foster to foster the linkage between the different actors. We talked today about different systems, smart standards. We talked about the new tools for the assessments and for audits. We talked about digital calibration certificates and databases, but we need these systems to be interoperable, which means that we can link to each other and work to each other and not being in different levels and not connect to each other. We need to have those standards being read by machines, being read by systems and other machines, so that we can have the requirements of the standards coming in life, in our work, in our management systems, in our activities that we do. And also we need that these activities can be on the different pillars of the quality infrastructure. In addition to be interoperable, we need also our databases and our achievements in making these digitalization changes and transformations. We need to have interconnected databases. With the experience that we had with the Quality Infrastructure for Sustainable Development Index, so the QI index showed that the members of INET QI were able to have their information intercorrelated in an index that shows how quality infrastructure is getting better and better in different organizations. But also, it helped to have cross-checks on what is being done in these different organizations and to see the quality infrastructure from the different perspectives. This is only possible if we work together and have this interconnectivity of the databases. We need, in addition to the systems and databases, to have also a collaboration in establishing policies and digitalization frameworks. We need to have our view and our opinion on AI, on new databases for validation of certificates. We need to have our opinion on how we can link the standards to the industry and to the certification bodies. So we need that collaboration to be highlighted and result in policies and statements and frameworks that these international organizations can work together. INET QI is one of those forums where different international stakeholders are working together to have such policies, but it's very important that we do so in collaborating with stakeholders at the regional level, but also at the national level. It's very important that we have the different pillars work together. And this is important, as I said, to stay relevant and not be maybe changed with other tools or other parallel ways that are not as effective as the pillars that we have today for quality infrastructure. In IF, for example, we started the working group on digitalization. We are following what's happening and establishing rules and procedures on how to work with digitalization, with using remote auditing, remote calibration, remote assessments, but also to have our ethical and governance rules for the use of AI. Not only the certification of management systems related to AI, but also how we, in the pillars of quality infrastructure, especially in conformity assessment and accreditation, we use AI in a confident, ethical, and governed way for our work. The scope of the IAF multilateral recognition arrangement is expanding to cover the new management systems for technologies, for AI, and to other kinds of technologies. And this is very important that we have this together working on it. So the advice is that we continue working on these initiatives. We need more pilot programs that some of them have been presented today by different speakers, but we need to work together so that we can link them and don't duplicate, but also have the possibility to complement each other and work in harmony. We need also capacity building. We always work with the weakest from our group, so we need to have also the weakest to be also have the capacity building and have their opportunities there. And also we need to foster the public and private partnership that will engage those technology providers and those developing and innovating to be in linkage with what we do. They help us and we help them. So finally, I would like to ask everyone that we can work together to empower the quality infrastructures by leveraging the power of the digital transformation and its capabilities in enhancing transparency, making our activities more effective, but also allowing greater inclusivity by providing developing economies and our partners with tools to integrate in the global value chains effectively and have this empowering from all of us together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for such a powerful statement and recommendations and for highlighting the need of coordination and working together. Indeed, One of the objectives of this kind of events that we do is precisely to connect QI actors and foster coordination and shared experiences and knowledge. So as we conclude, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed panelists for sharing their knowledge and experiences with us. And to our audience, if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat and we will ensure to send the responses to you after the event. And now I hand the floor back to Claudia for some closing remarks. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Amelia, and all the panelists again. I think we did today what many of you have stressed in their talks and their interventions, that we need to connect, that we need to exchange, that we need to learn from each other, and that it's not just about technology, but specifically about collaboration and information sharing, because we have seen in those talks and presentations that there's a lot already going on. So a lot of projects that highlight the capabilities of digital transformation and technologies. And now it's the challenge to provide for the foundation. Like Steve said, we need to have like the infrastructure and the preconditions to just allow everyone to engage. I think it also came clear that we need to work together to avoid like this digital divide, also to establish an industrialization of quality infrastructure. So this is, I think Dasha has stressed it many times, we need to collaborate, and a lot is already being done. A lot of the QI institutions have understood the challenge, they work towards it, and I think we all as members of this quality infrastructure should keep pace with this and do our best to implement solutions that are to the benefit of the whole quality infrastructure, because it's global and it needs to function globally. And it's nice to see that so many projects are already thriving worldwide. So thank you very much to all participants here. Maybe this was a good start or a continuation to exchange ideas, to learn. I have learned a lot today, so a lot of interesting projects and insights gained again, and maybe see what we can implement in our respective countries and in regional and global collaboration. And with this said, we will wrap everything up. We will provide you all the information gathered today here in a small summary. We will provide all the documentation to this event. And thank you everyone for your interest, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk
Thank
to you
you.
guys soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.